Julie Negron. I'm a registered dietitian, and I've been in practice as a registered dietitian for over 30 years. And I would just like to introduce myself to those of you who are new to Casa de Sante and this our Facebook support group and our SIBO, IBS support group, low FODMAP support groups. Again, my name is Julie. I'm a registered dietitian with over 30 years of experience, and I have both professional experience with gastrointestinal diseases. I have personal experience as well. My own personal experience is that I was diagnosed back in 2009 with celiac disease, and I do notice that I have some symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. It's mild, but my main struggle has been with celiac disease. So I know, this is my cat Lucy. She'll be showing up occasionally when she feels like it. And she's drinking my water right now. Anyway, so I know personal struggles with gastrointestinal diseases and intolerances, coping with those changing eating habits and following a special diet, everything intricately having to do with having a gastrointestinal disease. So just wanted to mention that because on a personal level, I can relate. And on a professional level, I've delved deeper into this subject because of my own experience and people that I know as well as my own patients that I see. We've decided to try doing a topic of the Facebook Live, and today's topic is about mindful eating and how building a healthy relationship with food is important. What kind of difference does this make for people with IBS? So mindful eating and building a healthy relationship with food when you have irritable bowel syndrome. This topic hits home for me personally because in my own journey, I've experienced that stress management and living and having an overall attitude of being more mindful of myself and what's going on with me personally has helped me to know better how to deal with my own struggles with gastrointestinal disease. And it's proven that stress and irritable bowel syndrome, stress can be is known as one of the potential causes of irritable bowel syndrome. It is in the research, it is a strong link. So managing stress and being mindful, they interconnect. So stress, as you probably know already, is associated strongly with ulcers, constipation, diarrhea. If you're going to a job interview and you're really nervous, or any situation where you're very nervous, that will affect how you are digesting your food and how your stomach feels. You'll notice that you have butterflies in your stomach. You'll notice that you have a nervous stomach. Maybe you'll have diarrhea or something like that, have to run to the bathroom because you're so nervous. Well, that's because our digestive tract has lots of links to nerves having to do with the nervous system. And so stress does directly affect our gastrointestinal tract. The hormones, the stress hormones that are called cortisol can directly affect digestion as well as other processes in our body. When your body is under stress, you may feel that fight or flight, like you're in that fight or flight mode, and your body doesn't really think about digestion. All the energy and the blood sources are diverted away from the digestive tract and to that fight or flight mode. And so your gut and brain being intimately connected is important in this conversation about being mindful, because of how our brain and our gut really do work together. And we'll be talking about this in feeling satiated or full after meals, and kind of paying attention to that. But the brain and the gut are intricately connected. And so mindfulness, meditation, stress management, anything to help with relaxation, staying calm, can improve symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, among other medical symptoms as well. So there are studies about cognitive behavioral therapy, acupuncture, yoga, meditation, improving digestive symptoms as well. And this is medical research that has been really through the research methods and meticulous studies been done in this area. So incorporating stress management techniques like deep belly breathing, meditation, yoga, improve digestion, and stress negatively impacts our digestion. So the first question having to do with mindful eating is, how can mindful eating help people with irritable bowel syndrome build a healthier relationship with food? So again, how can mindful eating help people with IBS build a healthier relationship with food? Well, basically connecting with your body, being self-aware, and this is in my own experience as well, being aware of, how am I feeling right now? How do I feel emotionally? And how is it affecting how I feel physically? Because they are interconnected. And connecting with our body on a minute by minute basis, as often as we can. It may be something that is very strange to us, because we're not in that habit and we're not used to that. But living and connecting with our body and being mindful of how we feel emotionally, physically, and how we feel while we're eating. Basically, what we're doing is we're building a healthier relationship with our body first. And then we can therefore build a healthier relationship with food. So building a healthier relationship with our body, I believe personally, in my own opinion and my own experience of dealing with health issues and special diets and things like that, everything involved in that intricately, building a healthier relationship with my own body has helped me become and build a healthier relationship with food, and respecting my body, respecting what my body needs, listening to my body, really knowing when to stop, when should I rest, when do I say no to things. And it's, for me, been a really long road of just allowing myself to say no to things and not be such a yes person, not be not feel like, oh, I at times I used to feel like it would be selfish to pay attention to myself that much, but it's actually not. It's actually selfless, because the better you take care of you, the better you can be there for others. And so I think when we talk about mindful eating and having a healthier relationship with food, basically what that means is after we've connected with our own body and how we feel, we can connect more with food, and we can eat slowly and more mindfully. And we can think through of what foods do agree with me and that I tolerate well. What foods don't I tolerate well? Portion control. Am I eating too quickly? I need to slow down, and maybe I do need to pay attention to the portions of these types of foods because of their cumulative effect, bad effect on my body. So all of these things, and I'll be talking more about this, coming back to this question because it is a good one. All these questions do kind of interrelate with each other. The number 2 question here, number 2, what specific mindful eating practices can be beneficial for individuals with irritable bowel syndrome? Well, first of all, removing distractions. What can help with mindfulness is removing distractions, especially mealtime distractions. Is the TV on? Are we looking at our phone and social media? Are we watching the news instead of how much we eat and what we're eating? So we remove these distractions in a purposeful way, in a deliberate way, to kind of refocus and focus on what we're eating and how we're eating, paying attention to our plate instead. I would suggest to try this for a week and see how, take a chunk of time that is not overwhelming to you, whether it's a week, a day at a time, and just really focus on removing these distractions for a period of time and paying attention to your plate. And then you can listen to your body. You can answer questions like, how hungry am I really? How hungry am I? What flavors am I tasting? How much do I like this meal? How is this meal making me feel? How do I feel, 5 minutes after, 10 minutes after? This is a good way also to removing distractions helps you realize what's going on in your body and the connection between a food and a symptom that you may be having. And you'll notice the triggers more clearly. And you also, if you, of course, journal those, the food and the symptom and the triggers, then that will help. But removing these distractions and focusing will help you with that process. The other thing is, in addition to removing mealtime distractions, is slow down. Slow down, because if you eat too fast, then you'll often overeat before you know it. You're done with your plate, everything on your plate is clean, and you're already starting to feel, a few minutes later, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't have eaten all that. And you may feel overly full. So slowing down is really important. Try to chew your food better, more completely. Chewing is the first step of digestion. We have certain enzymes in our saliva that start the digestion process of certain carbohydrates. So the longer we have the food in our mouth and chew and allow the saliva to start integrating with the food as we chew, and then we chew it, and that's a way of breaking the food down so that when the food is in our stomach doesn't have to work so hard, and our intestines don't have to work so hard to break the food down further. So chewing well will slow you down, and it is important because that's the first step of digestion. And mixing it with the enzymes in the saliva. And I know, and I can relate too. Taking big bites, and chewing, and taking bites before the last bite is chewed thoroughly and swallowed, because we're overly hungry, and whatever the case may be, maybe we're in a hurry. We have 30-minute lunchtime or a 10-minute break time, and we're not paying attention to what we're eating or how fast. But if we start doing that, that will help. We chew our food more. We pay attention to how full we are. Are we still hungry, or is this about enough? It's easy to overeat. This causes gas, bloating, indigestion, and only the beginning parts of the painful IBS symptoms. So if we chew our food more and take our time, that's a big step. It sounds simple, but if we're in the habit of hurrying through our food, that it can take time to make the change. It's a commonly held belief. Research hasn't proved it 100%, but it takes about 20 minutes for our brain to get the message from our gastrointestinal tract and the hormones to reach our brain that we are full. So we can eat a lot in 20 minutes. We can eat a lot in 5 minutes. And so if we slow down, we'll be able to get that feeling of fullness and realize that, and let our brain and our stomach communicate and realize that, okay, yeah, I'm full. So eating slower helps in that process. So eating slowly, paying attention to how full you're getting, can prevent digestive problems in the first place. And really, when you think about it, the low FODMAP diet is very much connected to portion control. So certain foods may be moderate FODMAP, it's the amount that we're eating, the portion that we're eating, that would make it low FODMAP. And if you're new to this, and if you're new to the low FODMAP diet and having irritable bowel syndrome as a diagnosis, then maybe this is new to us. What is FODMAP, and what is low, moderate, and high FODMAP foods? But portion control and portions of foods are really important in the FODMAP diet. So if we can control our overeating, that can be a big step. Slowing down and chewing well is important for that. Another thing is, in addition to slowing down and removing distractions, is eating with people, eating together. When we're in an environment where eating is very social, and that's why, holidays and events, birthdays, any celebration is usually around food. Food is central, no matter what culture you're from or you're in. Some cultures have a stronger association with food, but it is very, very social, no matter what culture you're in. But eating meals together and being in a social environment can reduce stress and therefore improve your digestion. So when you can, if you can have family meal times, then that's something that is very positive, can reduce stress, and can help your digestion process, and which also builds a healthy relationship with food, because the more positive experiences you have with eating and meals and food, the more positive relationship you'll have with food. The third question is, how can individuals with irritable bowel syndrome use mindful eating to identify and manage their personal trigger foods? Well, that kind of ties in with the first question, that mindful eating and detecting the foods that can trigger you, removing the distractions, slowing down, and I mentioned before journaling. Journaling can help you really in an intentional way link a food to a symptom. And remember that sometimes there are delayed reactions. So if you eat a food, there's not always you have the symptom just immediately. So if you write it down, if you have the symptom the next day, but you're keeping a journal, and you notice that, okay, a day after I eat such and such, I'm having this symptom, then that will help you. Whatever helps you to notice foods and situations that may trigger your symptoms, that is a very mindful process and will help you in the long run to build a healthier relationship with food, because you're digesting better, you're not having as many symptoms, and not having that negative experience when you eat. So my answer to the question number 3 of how mindful eating can help identify and manage personal trigger foods is to pay attention and slow down, remove distractions like the last question, the answer, but journal and seeing it in black and white, and then going back to see relationships between the foods and the symptoms. Here's Lucy again. Going back to see too, what foods have I eaten yesterday, and because some foods have a cumulative effect. So you might tolerate mushrooms, a small amount of mushrooms one day in a salad, but say you have mushrooms one day and they're kind of a trigger food for you, and then you have another day you have say maple syrup or something like honey or something that would be another trigger food for you. The next day in large amounts, say you have a big pancake breakfast or something, and it's not, so individually some of these foods may not trigger symptoms, but it's also there's a cumulative effect, or it's called stacking. So stacking, a bit of this food and a bit of that food and a bit of this food, and then your personal tolerance level, your body goes, okay, you passed that, my tolerance, and here's all the symptoms. So that can come roaring ahead. And so journaling can help you to track that. So being very intentional in tracking your symptoms and things like that can really, really help. The fourth question is, Can mindful eating help reduce stress and anxiety related to food choices and meal planning for people with IBS? Yes, definitely. Mindful eating helps to reduce stress. It can help with reducing anxiety because of reducing stress. Can be associated, and building a healthier relationship with food would be the process of intervening on purpose in a purposeful way to make sure that you're planning your meals, you're picking the food choices that are not triggering your symptoms. So you're slowing down, you take a break, you sit down and plan and think for a few minutes about what does my body need, what foods work out well, what foods don't work out well. And this process of slowing down and not being so distracted can help us notice what foods we're eating and what helps us feel better. So it reducing that stress and anxiety and the symptom load all have the same process of being mindful and slowing down. The next question, number 5, how does practicing mindfulness during meals impact our digestion and our gut health for those of us with IBS? So how does practicing mindfulness during meals impact digestion and gut health? Well, stress and not being mindful, but being stressed, distracted, impatient, what have you, all of these things, this whole kind of like attitude, I guess, and perspective of just not paying attention. Stress can slow down digestion. When food stays in our stomach longer, it can cause heartburn, indigestion, gas, bloating. It can throw off our various hormones and the whole digestive system and how it's working, so that you can have not only heartburn, indigestion, but pretty severe irritable bowel symptoms as a result. But if you are being present, paying attention to what you're eating and how much you're eating, the act of being present and in the moment reduces stress in itself. So being present and in the moment with your food reduces the stress that you're feeling, and you'll be able to choose your foods more wisely as you're giving it more thought, and you'll be able to digest the food more thoroughly and eat portions that won't be too much. So can you see how it all goes hand in hand? Being mindful and choosing foods, being deliberate about those food choices. Are they low FODMAP for me? They're the foods that I tolerate well, and in the portions that I tolerate well. And you're thinking about it. You're present and making decisions for yourself, for your health. The next question is, what role does portion control play in the practice of mindful eating for IBS management? Well, portion control and the low FODMAP diet, as I mentioned earlier, are very intricately connected because say a tablespoon of honey is I'm just saying this may not be exactly correct, but just as an example, a tablespoon of honey is a portion that I tolerate well and is low FODMAP. But if I have two on accident, because I'm just I'm not paying attention, I'm in a hurry, and I'm just squeezing the bottle of honey, and yeah, then that can the larger portions can really cause symptoms. So large portions of food at one time, of any food, even for people who don't have irritable bowel syndrome or any other gut health syndrome, problem, disease, but even someone without any of this, the larger portions can cause gut symptoms like heartburn and indigestion. And people with irritable bowel syndrome, research has shown, are hypersensitive to, they may be more sensitive than others in their gastrointestinal tract. They may be more sensitive to stressors in life for one reason or another. And so if we're eating too much food at one time, then that is just going to be causing an overload to our digestive system and going to cause symptoms. So it's crucial to pay attention to portions, and there's a lot of information on our site, Casa de Sante, about the relationship of what foods are low FODMAP and in what portions are they low FODMAP. So that's something that if you're new to this, you'll learn that that's an important part of controlling your symptoms and your eating habits. Are there any specific, this is the next question, are there any specific food choices or eating habits that are particularly beneficial for people with IBS in the context of mindful eating? Well, specifically food choices, I would say for most people, research has shown that the low FODMAP diet and those foods on the low FODMAP list in those portions can help with controlling irritable bowel symptoms. As far as eating habits, we've gone through slowing down when we're eating, being aware of our portion sizes. For some of us, especially if we get low blood sugar easily, like myself, I know I do. It's called hypoglycemia. I get hypoglycemic really easy. And so it works best for me to eat small, frequent meals. And if I'm going to be out and about, I bring something for lunch or a snack, depending on how long I will be. People who know me well know that I always have a snack with me, a healthy snack. I keep some non-perishable foods in my glove compartment. I don't eat while I'm driving very often, but you never know what comes up. If you get stuck out shopping or something too long and you don't want to get hypoglycemic. So for me, eating small, frequent meals works out better. It doesn't allow me to become overly hungry. I'm more apt to eat smaller portions, more mindful about eating small amounts, and that is satisfying to me if I'm eating frequently enough. So that's important. That may be important to you as well, and may be helpful for you as well. For some people, eating more frequently, some days may not work out well because any food is triggering some symptoms for them. Maybe they're at a high stress level that day. So it's not necessarily the food choices they're making, but just the amount of stress. I don't know. But I do know that our bodies love routine. So whatever routine we have for eating our meals, whatever works out best for us, eating breakfast every day at a certain time, and lunch at a certain time, dinner at a certain time, ideally, most people 4 or 5 hours apart, sometimes with a snack in between, but not skipping meals. Don't forget to eat because those intervals are important, because if we allow ourselves to get overly hungry, then when we're overly hungry, and that's not just for those of us with irritable bowel syndrome, but for anyone. If we're overly hungry, we are more likely to impulse eat and grab the first food that we see, or grab fast food, grab food that we know will cause symptoms for us. And we eat it too fast, and we eat too much. So don't allow that vulnerable, oops, kitty. Lucy's attacking my hand. Sorry, excuse me. Not allowing yourself to become vulnerable and hungry. And there's a term called hangry, where we get too low blood sugar, we're edgy, and we get angry easily and grumpy and all these things that come with low blood sugar. Don't allow that to happen. Have respect for your body. Know the cadence of the best meal times for you, and try to follow it as often and as well as possible. And that all ties back into being mindful about your eating and developing a healthier relationship with food, and not feeling the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome so much. The next question, number 8, how can mindful eating support adherence to an IBS specific diet, such as the low FODMAP diet? Well, I mean, when we practice mindfulness, and this is with any kind of diet, whether it's to lose weight or whether it's associated with diabetes or anything, but especially I'm speaking to you who have IBS. When we practice mindfulness, we are deliberate with our food choices. We're thinking it through. We're planning before we grocery shop. We're making a list. We're deliberate at mealtime and choosing our meals. And we're not allowing, and we're aware of when we're going to eat. If we're going to a doctor's appointment and we may be too long, we're aware that we're going to bring a snack with us just in case. We're bringing water with us in case we get thirsty and we're still away from home. So we're taking good care of ourselves and putting ourselves first. So if you suffer from IBS, also adhering to the diet is very important. And those of us who participate on this Facebook page and who work with gastrointestinal patients like myself, as a registered dietitian, and we have GI clinicians that can help with adherence to the IBS specific diet. There is help out there, and sometimes it can seem like getting an appointment with the doctor, getting an appointment with a registered dietitian you have to wait for a long time, and that's difficult when you're having all of these symptoms and you're in such pain. So just wanted to let you know that there's help that could be more immediately on our website. You can go there and take a gut assessment, and if you would like to meet with someone, you can, who is an expert. I can't stress that enough, of dealing with people who are experts in the field and who see different symptoms every day, and not just someone who may not be a professional in this area. So back to the question, though, I'm getting off on a tangent, I feel like. Mindful eating and adhering to the IBS specific diet is important because it takes learning, researching, knowing your, and even if I have IBS, you have IBS, we all are different, and we all have our own individual foods out of that diet, that some we may tolerate well, and some we may not. You and I are different, so you need to pay attention to what works for you within the low FODMAP diet and your own eating habits. So being aware can help you avoid the debilitating symptoms. Next question is, can practicing mindful eating improve the quality of life for those with IBS? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's key, really. Going back to, we can pay attention to what's working for us, and, like, I can eat this, I can eat that. And, we can pay attention to what we're eating, but one of the root causes of irritable bowel syndrome and gut symptoms relating to what we're eating has a lot to do with stress and the quality of life. So the whole practice, and going back to the core problem and maybe a potential cause of irritable bowel syndrome being stress, and being used to being in a stressful atmosphere, whether it's work or whether it's home life or both, or maybe it's our own attitude that we take on a lot in life, that we work long hours, that we demand ourselves to say yes to being in this club and that club, and being overly busy. We stretch ourselves thin. We are out of balance in our lifestyle and have too much stress. Well, that's going to directly affect our quality of life and our health. Our quality of life and health are intricately associated, just like our mind and body are. And if we avoid and don't take good care of our body and don't pay attention to our own needs, then that's what will happen. Our quality of life will be reduced. So practicing mindfulness is absolutely helps the quality of life. The whole practice of living mindfully helps us to be present, more self-aware, and then in turn it will decrease symptoms and stress. When we manage our stress, we're going to reduce our symptoms. So we're more mindful overall. If we're distracted, our thoughts are in the past or in the future and not today and present, then a lot of times we'll feel helpless, because there's really nothing, if you look at it on a deeper level, what happened yesterday, what happens tomorrow is not necessarily something we can control or have an impact on directly. So it makes us feel helpless. And that feeling increases stress. If we focus on today, then we can control more of what's going on. We can make our decisions. We can choose to take care of ourselves first. We can choose to meal plan and read about the low FODMAP diet. And we can choose to be deliberate in our choices when we go grocery shopping. We can make plans and plan ahead. And that will help in our tomorrow, but we can't do it until we pay attention to today. Now, believe me, I've struggled with this personally. Used to be a yes person, a people pleaser, be involved in this, that, and the other thing, with kids and family and professional organizations and things like that, and just being spread too thin. And in my own experience, getting back to myself and what works for me and how busy I want to be and choose to be and can function the best at is really a key to quality of life. And again, this helps with our health directly. So adjusting your mindset, adjusting your expectations of self, and going through the process of being managing our stress and being more mindful in general, then we can be more mindful about our food choices, and even other things having to do with health. Our choices to exercise and do other things for our body that will help. The next question, and I think this is an important one: how can healthcare professionals integrate mindful eating into their overall management for patients with IBS? In my opinion, healthcare professionals, I think, how can they do that? Well, we as healthcare professionals need to be open-minded, need to be on top of current information, and this is in the research right now of being mindful and helping with reduced stress reduction, offering, I think, in our own practices, if we incorporate stress management and no referrals to to those who practice meditation, yoga, if we provide that information to our patients. And, first of all, though, it takes being open-minded to it. It takes knowing and finding out sources who are credible sources in those areas, taking seriously the link between stress and possible depression and anxiety and mental health issues that may need more attention, and really taking that seriously and developing a referral system, whether it's to therapists, whether it's to different activities and yoga and meditation and acupuncture, and kind of integrating it all into holistic care for the patient. That's what I think healthcare professionals can and need to do in order to really serve their patients well that have IBS. That's a really good question. Let's see. How can technology, such as smartphone apps, support the practice of mindful eating for people with IBS? Well, I think apps can be a wonderful resource for us. We can use low FODMAP apps to help us track how we're eating, what we're eating, to know the portions that are the correct portions for the different various foods. The Monash FODMAP app, I think personally is the best resource for up-to-date information about uh, the FODMAP content of foods, the safe portion sizes of many different foods. Um, and there's a diary in that app that can really help you to record the foods you eat, the symptoms that you may have, the severity, your bowel habits, your stress levels, and those can really help elevate the mindfulness having to do with, on a daily basis to make it easier for you. If you like to use apps, that would be a really good way to track how you're doing. There are other apps that are out there that are really good. I looked up what are the top 5, and Fig, Food Scanner is one. So that's Fig, F-I-G, Food Scanner. There's FODMAP Diet A to Z. Another app is Fast FODMAP. Cara Care is another, and then FODMAP Helper. So there's Monash FODMAP app. There's Fig Food Scanner, FODMAP A to Z, Fast FODMAP, Cara Care, C-A-R-A, Care, and then there's FODMAP Helper. These can all really help you in looking at the list of foods and how they can and what and give you a breakdown of whether these foods are low FODMAP, high FODMAP. Some apps may have green, yellow, and red light foods, which can be helpful. So there are plenty of apps, and I think that they are important because a lot of people these days love apps and use them often. And so this is another way to help become mindful about what foods you can tolerate and may not tolerate, and could be a great way to educate yourself. The next question is, how can mindfulness practices such as meditation and yoga support the development of a healthy relationship with food? I think hugely. These are all tools, mindfulness management tools that help us in our lifestyle, not just having to do with eating habits and food choices, but in our lifestyle of just our whole attitude, and help to cement that kind of lifestyle, so that we're not only eating mindfully, we're mindful in our lifestyle choices and in our health. So yoga, meditation, they're both firmly rooted in mindfulness and help us to eat more mindfully. It's like I said, a whole attitude. And when we eat mindfully and we sustain the process of eating mindfully, which means without distraction, eating slowly, maybe eating with other people, paying attention to what we eat and tracking if we need to, then we're developing a healthier relationship with food. We're not afraid of eating. We're empowering ourselves to grasp the knowledge and to take good care of our own body. And this is a way that we can show ourselves that we love our own body, that we care, we want to be comfortable, we want to be healthy, and we're going to do this. And in that mindset, we can be mindful in all different ways, having to do with our relationship with other people, our relationship with our own body, our relationship with food, and we empower ourselves to more effectively take good care of ourselves, which includes avoiding trigger foods and avoiding those terrible symptoms that we can have. And it all ties together to becoming more comfortable with food and building a healthier relationship with food. Let's see, I have time for another question, I think. So, are there special considerations for individuals with IBS when practicing mindful eating in social situations and when dining out? Yes, absolutely. There are special considerations because we want to be mindful ahead of time. We want to plan ahead. We know we're going to a birthday party or we're going out to eat with some people we can, if we're invited to an event at someone's house, we can call in advance about what the food is, what can I bring? And bringing your own dishes if necessary. When you're dining out, you can choose the restaurant that serves the types of food that you eat. If you're invited to a restaurant, a specific restaurant, you can view the menu ahead of time. You can call and see what their menu options are. What is their attitude to how careful they are about cross-contamination, changing menu items and meals to suit what your needs are, and their whole attitude about people with special dietary needs. So, special considerations for individuals with IBS in being mindful in social situations. Yes, just planning ahead, thinking it through, which is being mindful, and empowering yourself to make choices that will be as healthy for you and help keep you symptom free. You're basically, by being mindful, you're empowering yourself with education, with the use of apps, with being the mindfulness practice and building that in your own life, using stress reduction, getting help if needed through therapy or joining meditation and yoga groups to cement the mindfulness techniques in your whole life, not just having to do with how you eat and what you eat, but in other areas of your life as well. These tools can really help. So it becomes a lifestyle for you. And with any diet, say weight loss or a diabetic diet or the low FODMAP diet, to really make it and integrate what works for you to keep you healthy, to integrate that into your whole lifestyle for the long term is the key. That's the key to keeping your symptoms at bay, to helping your gut heal, and most of all, to developing that healthy relationship with food so that you don't suffer as much, so you're not afraid to eat. So thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to just hearing any more input that you may have, if you have questions that have to do with building a healthy relationship with food, I look forward to seeing you on Facebook, on the Facebook page, and answering your questions. And I'll see you next week and on our next Facebook Live. Thank you very much. Have a great day.